Today, it was Beige. He was the mystery guest. It was Beige.
It's always Beach. It's the only way you can stop the beach drop is to wear a paper bag over your head.
I realized that because of course the screenshots for different the last couple chill points have looked relatively similar.
Mm-hmm.
That like the last screenshot, you're even wearing the same shirt in the last screenshot.
Okay.
So it's literally just like, who could this be?
Mm-hmm.
The same two people, the same person wearing the same outfit, but is now has a bag on his head. Who could it be?
Place your guesses now.
I like that we take screenshots for this show because that's what I use for the thumbnail.
Ah. So, hey everybody, I can take out my headphones now. I just wear them for the beginning part so I can hear the intro.
You can't tell if you're a real streamer if you don't wear the headphones.
That way we
It's
know
true.
that the audio's working. So.
Also, yes, so I know that the music is playing.
Don't worry, the chat will definitely tell us if the audio is not working. They always do. They're very consistent.
So, welcome to ChillPoint, the show where we talk about the week's video game news. And in fact, this week, this is not the after show or the whatever, the homework or whatever you want to call it.
It's the main show. It's the only show.
This is the only show because there was no checkpoint this week. So if you've been going to the YouTube being like, why haven't they updated with the checkpoint? There is no checkpoint this week. And the reason for that is because we didn't want to. But also, there's not a lot of news going on this week because it turns out that both video game companies and other video game websites reporting on stuff also don't want to work this week.
Yep. Well, it's the week between, and now that we told you there's no news, goodbye. We'll see you next year.
Bye.
It was pretty good because last night we watched Polygon. They did a video which was the top 50 games of 2021 in 7 words or less.
Yeah, those are pretty fun to watch.
Mm-hmm.
It's
I saw you make a face when it was like a video that's the top 50 games. So it's like, what? I was like, oh.
Oh no, it's 7 minutes long. It's
Yeah.
very digestible.
Mm-hmm.
the number of articles in my like RSS feed that start with like best of 2021. Like literally probably half of the articles from all these things are either lists of best of 2021 or people like reposting being like, this was a great thing article that we did earlier in this year and we're gonna post it again. So yes, a little bit of slow news week, but there's some stuff. And I was thinking that we could also talk a little bit about maybe some of our some checkpoint. Or, I didn't tell Beej about this, but I was thinking like best what your favorite checkpoint story was over this
I
last
have
year.
to go do some research.
See,
Oh, I didn't want you
I
to
told
leave.
He never shows up early for the meeting that Paul and I have, which is just us talking about Picross, apparently.
Yeah.
No, I'll just make some stuff up. We probably talked about it.
I'm pretty sure we did a couple stories about Picross. Maybe not this year. We've definitely done stories
must have
about
done some of
Picross.
them, but-
Yeah.
Like that new upcoming hotness Picross that everyone should be playing.
So let's talk about the news that this is the stuff that maybe would have been turned into checkpoint stories if we were doing checkpoint this week. Because as I talked about before, I have personally been like marking stories for Checkpoint or the Escapist News Network for like 10 years now, probably longer than that. So I just kind of do it habitually now and then forget that, oh wait, we don't have to actually do it this week.
Right.
There
This
might
is
be
a
a
good way to
week.
get that out.
There might be a week without a checkpoint, but there is not a week without Paul checking the feeds.
So I tend to like mark stories that I find interesting anyway. So let's talk about there was a piece of Fortnite news that was that Fortnite is offline. Fortnite was offline this last week for about most of the day, which
oh no. Was it Christmas? Did they take Christmas off?
No. This was like a little bit after Christmas.
Should take Christmas off.
But considering the kind of stuff that's behind Fortnite, them being down for many hours is actually a relatively big story. But there was another, I think, better piece of Fortnite news, which is of the various things that have been added, all the different costumes and skins and stuff that have been added to Fortnite. In honor of the 4th season of Cobra Kai on Netflix, which is the that's the Karate Kid
Universe TV show.
Is it a cartoon?
No.
They did a live action.
It's a live action. It's supposed to be really good, actually. It's like live action, but following the bad guys technically from Karate Kid. But
the Evil Dojo.
Yeah, but apparently it's actually really good.
Okay.
But anyway, in honor of the 4th season, they are adding. So they aren't actually adding skins of any of the actors from Cobra Kai, but you can get it's like generic person wearing the Cobra Kai, wearing the gi from the different. There's like the Cobra Kai one or the.
So like the silly putties of Cobra Kai.
The silly putties?
You get from Power Rangers.
Oh.
The putties.
The putties.
Putties.
Yeah.
I don't think nobody ever called them silly putties, did
No.
they?
And they're pretty silly to me.
I mean, they are pretty silly.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so you can get ones with like the Cobra Kai one or the Eagle Fang Dojo or the Miyagi Dojo, which is kind of cool. And there's like a different like pickaxe thing you can get. But the best part, is that it has a set of emotes, including one that's like shooting up fireworks and celebrating, and obviously the crane kick emote. There's an emote that you do the crane kick.
It's good.
And when you do the crane kick emote, it plays a little bit of "You're the Best Around." So you go like, you do that thing. It's like, "You're the best around. No one will ever keep you down." Which hilariously, I was trying to find. So the problem is though,
right?
That's a copyrighted
It's a
song.
real ass song, yeah.
It's a copyrighted song. So streamers have to. There's a thing in Fortnite to turn off like copyright audio.
Right.
So if you turn that off, it just doesn't make any you just sort of
you just do a crane kick.
You just do a crane kick quietly.
What's fun about that?
Is it like the Matrix one though, where like there's like all these millions of bullets, but now you're just doing a silly kick, and if someone comes near you, the kick won't do anything?
Yeah, it's just an emote. Like it's not actually like an attack.
It's literally the one of the two emotes I use in Saints Row 4 actually is the crane kicks.
Which is what, but yeah, that's the weird thing with like you said, the Matrix one, where you do like a Matrix dodge thing.
Yeah.
But like the bullets that you're dodging in the Matrix dodge are part of the emote. It's not like you're actually dodging anything.
Yeah. It's too bad. It's if they could build that kind of thing into Fortnite, it would definitely just completely screw up the game.
Oh yes.
I mean, I believe there's a rumor for Fortnite getting a no build mode.
Oh, really?
That would make sense.
Just having a battle royale.
Battle royale, yeah.
We'll take out the thing that makes the game.
I feel like the building part of Fortnite is kind of de-emphasized these days.
Yeah.
Like Fortnite
doesn't
games
seem to be anything they ever talk about.
Fortnite games are always weird because like if you watch people play Fortnite, it'll look like a sort of cartoony battle royale game, and then sometimes people will be like, "I'm on a tower." They just like build a big thing or build a wall.
I just think if you're gonna put in an emote that allows you to kick, if someone gets close enough, you should be able to actually kick them.
Right.
Because that would be funny.
It would be funny.
It probably wouldn't be immensely useful in the terms of the actual gameplay, but it would be great.
Well, speaking of people who kick other people,
Oh,
ah,
kicking it off strong, I see.
would you like to see a Mortal Kombat remake, as in the original Mortal Kombat games, uh, remade with fancy, super fun, super nice graphics? Is that something you would like to see?
Not Heather, but for the sake of the bit, yes, I would love to see such a thing. Paul, tell me more.
So, there's been this kind of thing about doing a Mortal Kombat trilogy remake, because I guess the first three Mortal Kombat games are sort of often kind of looked at together for a long time. Back in 2016, a team called iBallistic approached Ed Boon, who is the guy behind NetherRealm, or one of the people, with the idea of doing Mortal Kombat HD, an HD remake
Okay.
of the first ones.
Sure.
Right.
He was like, that sounds cool, but Warner Brothers, the Mortal Kombat IP owner, didn't have very much faith in the project and wasn't convinced it would sell enough. So now, so this team, iBallistic, has been doing has made other games for
Okay.
other platforms and stuff. I don't know.
Built up their reputation and whatnot. And, they say they make amazing games on their website.
I
which
mean,
is-
you know,
I
they
mean-
wouldn't lie about something like that.
I'm glad. I'm glad they believe in themselves, because otherwise that would be weird.
Yeah.
But so they want to give it. So they put up a change.org petition, to get people to, register their support for a Mortal Kombat remake. There's a target goal. Well, there's a target goal of 25,000. They currently have 15, or at the time of this article, they had 15,000. I don't know what they've got now. Let's see. 17,000 they're up
Oh,
to
good.
now.
All right. Yeah.
They put a goal of 25,000, but ideally they'd like to get 100,000 to show to Warner Brothers that there's 100,000 people who are interested in this.
Yeah.
Apparently, that's kind of their Warner Brothers
Yeah,
level that they're interested in.
They weren't convinced the game would sell over 100,000 units. And while I think, at least in terms of a, hey, you need to shout and tell us that you want this game, at least putting up a petition is a little bit more than please just keep shouting at the company until they do it. At the same time, people writing down their name 100,000 times does not equal 100,000 sales.
It's true.
You
It's
might
true.
want higher than that, because I'm willing to bet there's like a percentage range people expect out of those things where they're like, well, we really only think maybe half of these people would actually pay for it.
Yeah, yeah.
And that seems generous.
But then
I
again,
think, but
I'm sure there's lots of people who haven't signed the petition who would actually buy it.
Yeah.
as
They
well.
might not
So,
even be aware that the petition was available. Right.
yeah.
I mean,
but again, it's still, I think it's a step above somebody being like, hey, tweet that you really want to play the game, but also still maybe not the evidence you think it is.
what's kind of cool, or what is interesting, they made this little like demo, which I think is just the two characters being idle.
Yeah.
But
You start somewhere.
showing, which it's kind of funny, of course, if they were doing a remake, an HD remake, you wouldn't do it with the like original like photo stuff that they did on the original game,
Yeah.
because for one thing that's sprite based, and also it's too low res
Right.
probably now, and so basically remaking it with looking similar to like Mortal Kombat 8 or 9 or whatever.
It just basically sounds like what they're making is they would take the models from the newest games in the retro outfits, like the original outfits, and then just map them to a side, like to a 2D fighter. But
Yeah.
isn't Mortal Kombat already
Mortal Kombat is a 2D.
still
Yeah. So yeah, I guess the thing, as somebody who doesn't really, I mean, I actually played a fair amount of Mortal Kombat 8.
Okay.
I think because on we did it on
18 games and counting.
18 Games and Counting or New Day Tuesday or
Games of Chance.
Games of Chance or something. I ended up
Yeah.
playing quite a bit of it. And the the best part about it is the new Mortal Kombat stuff. There's like background. There's some you can like do things like environment interaction stuff, and one of them is there's like a little guy like working in the background, and if you hit the background interaction thing when you're standing beside him, you just pick the guy up and hit the other guy, hit your opponent with this like random dude.
All right.
Wow. Okay.
Sorry, I have to go one again. I'll be back in a second.
But anyway, I don't know enough about it to know, like, isn't this just, taking the characters and putting them into the new engine? I'm assuming there's more to it than that like emulating the feel, making the game actually like feel like the original games might be a little more complicated than that, rather than just like having the characters' moves in the new game.
Here's a question for you, Paul. When a game gets remade or ported or whatever, I guess remade in this case, what do you think's more important? Appealing to the original crowd of people who really like it, or appealing to people who are new? Because this game, if you're a new player and you're playing Mortal Kombat 11, that's what you're going to compare this against.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, that's a tricky one, right? I mean, that's the age-old question with the remakes, right? How much effort do you spend on making it, quote unquote, true to the original? How much effort do you spend on making it, good? Like good at
quality of life improvements.
Yeah, taking the things that you've actually like learned since the original and applying them.
Like, do you make it a 1-for-1 remake that's so true to the original that's considered an amazing thing by people who originally bought the game, or do you make it so that people who are new players are going to be the ones that glom onto it?
Right. Yeah. And I mean, on one side you just have like the graphical update type things. On the other side, you've got like the Final Fantasy VII remake, where it's effectively a different game, just with the same, not even the same, a similar story with the similar characters. Anyway, speaking of, hey, here we go. Speaking of crowdfunding and people who need lots of people to support them, the Panda GameCube controller.
I've never heard of this.
I only heard of it once it got canceled.
Can I
Which
make
is
a
odd.
guess?
Which seems like the kind of thing that you would be into. Which is
Can I make a guess as to what this is?
okay.
Okay, so it's a GameCube controller. Let's show everybody what it looks like, because you're going to be like, oh yeah, let's see what it looks like. And you're going to be so let down. The Panda GameCube controller specifically is wireless. It's all a GameCube layout, and it is solely for people who want to play Smash Brothers the way God intended, the way they keep saying that God intended to play Smash Brothers, which is only with this controller forever and ever and never ever to play with a different controller ever and ever. That's all that was, wasn't it? That's all the only reason why they're making this.
No, you are incorrect.
Ooh, okay. Now
So-
I'm intrigued.
One, you can actually get GameCube controllers for Switch. Right?
Well, yes.
They actually make them.
Absolutely.
Two, this is not for Switch.
Is it not?
This is for GameCube.
Yep.
Actual GameCube.
I love it!
And also USB for your computer.
Oh, neat. Okay. It's because people's wavebirds are breaking, I'm guessing. It must be the idea.
And three, so the premise of this is a GameCube controller with components and a basically like, I don't know if you know about the like there's like, Xbox makes the like Xbox Elite controller. It's like that. It's just it looks almost identical to the regular controller, but it's just a little heavier.
Yeah.
It's got better components in it.
Yeah.
The buttons are sort of nicer, had better feel on them,
Okay.
and different kind of stuff like that. The idea here is it's basically taking a GameCube and doing that to a GameCube. So making the components inside higher quality. It's more like sculpted.
Okay. Okay.
The colors are customizable. That kind of stuff.
Right.
But it's actually a game, like it's supposed to plug into a GameCube, not into a Switch.
Right. Or your PC.
Or your PC. It's just a USB controller.
Right. Interesting.
So that was the idea anyway. The Panda controller. They were doing a Kickstarter for it.
They were doing pretty well from their Kickstarter, from what I
Very,
understand, too.
very well, in fact.
Cease and desist? Is that what killed
Nope.
this thing?
Nope. So they were 1,400 backers. They were asking for $100,000, I think,
They were close to 2 million.
and they were close to 2 million at this point.
Jesus.
But they have voluntarily canceled. Basically, they started once this large number of people came in, they started looking at or they were evaluating with their production people in China.
Right.
And due to
Everything.
COVID and various other things, realizing that there was no way that they were going to be able to make the deadline or the fulfillment deadline that they had
Yeah.
talked about on the Kickstarter page.
December
Right.
2022.
And
Oh no.
and clearly these people don't know how Kickstarter works,
Yeah.
because they were like, we can't make the deadline, so we're going to cancel the project
Right.
for
So
now.
that's the first time
for
I've
now
really-
until if they knew how Kickstarter works, they would be like, we'll take all the money and then we'll bring it out in 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll get on it like immediately, and we will revise your expectations because that's what's happening.
Yeah.
They've said that they're going to so they've refunded all the pledges and everything. They've said that they will they're going to look at alternative funding, either getting it sponsored commercially.
Yeah.
And
now,
to be honest, their Kickstarter basically proves that they have a thing that people want, so they can use that as a way to convince people to back them. externally.
right. I mean, the cynical view of this is that maybe this Kickstarter was just like the Mortal Kombat thing to prove that the market was there.
Yeah, but still.
But it's still, I think, or the other thing that could have happened is that, I mean, one, they realized that there is going to be this delay on the thing, but then maybe they're actually contacted by big companies that want to, or somebody who wants to get involved and actually just, sponsor it or
buy the design,
or produce it.
Yeah.
In cooperation with them. And what has happened many times before, especially with video games, is you do have situations where there's like a Kickstarter that's very successful, and then after the Kickstarter is over, a publisher comes in and puts a bunch of money into it,
Right.
which tends to not go over well with the people who Kickstarted it, right?
Yeah.
Because then they'd be like, you had if there's a publisher, why would you do all the Kickstarter stuff?
And often with publishers, you have to make deals so that you get like a lot of those Kickstarters where now the game is launching exclusively on a specific platform.
Yeah.
And the things
And
that
so
we
if
promised.
you want to get it on the
yeah.
other platform, you'll have to wait a while longer. And there's reasons to be upset sometimes by that kind of action.
So in some ways, this allows them to be like, to kind of, get out intact by, they can drop the Kickstarter without making anybody mad at them in some ways. So however the case, I'm not saying that's necessarily what happened or anything, but obviously they have a product here that some people want. I feel like at worst, some other random company will make something, Mad Dog or what? No, they're not around anymore. But
Hori.
somebody will make
Horror would be
will make a version of this, which I guess kind of defeats the purpose because this is supposed to be a high end thing. But anyway, apparently, so we'll see what happens with it.
The idea, though, of like we're making a high end controller, like we're making something that is much nicer than something you would have bought in the past, is definitely one of those things that hasn't been explored a whole bunch in the console space. It's definitely been explored in the PC space, right? Like,
oh yeah, certainly.
Yeah, it's like you can buy a $200, $300 mechanical keyboards. It goes up from there, if depending on how much work and effort you want to put into it. You can buy incredibly like nice mice and the whole thing of putting weights in them and all that. Like, there's been all this feature stuff that's been making it into PC components for years. But as you say, the Xbox Elite was like pretty much the only controller that came out that was kind of like, look at me, I'm a better version, or maybe not better. I have higher spec components, right? That's not really happened in a lot of other places in the console space. Like the Game Boy Micro is about the only time that Nintendo made a Game Boy that was made out of metal.
Yeah, and there's like fight sticks, which are, for consoles and stuff. But I feel like this is almost the same kind of thing as, the analog pocket and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Where it's like, because that's like not only the screen and everything is better, but also the buttons and stuff. I mean, the mod that you did on the
Game Boy Advance.
On the Game Boy Advance, it's the same kind of idea where it's like, what can we do to this to make the clicky or whatever?
I think you can get higher end console controllers. They just tend to be through third parties.
Well,
very like those websites where you can mix and match your color designs and stuff.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
I mean, I feel like Nintendo, by and large, Nintendo tends to have like pretty high quality controllers.
Yeah.
So I feel like the market hasn't been there as much.
I don't know, if someone wants to make me a good set of Joy-Cons, I'd be
there's that thing, yeah.
That is
up until
the big exception, obviously, has been the way Joy-Cons have been going. But there's that idea of can I hey, I have something made out of plastic. Well, what if you have something made out of metal, right? Like, tends to be the first place where people look for that kind of thing. And I really like that. These guys were like, we're gonna swing for the fences on this. Make something that's really, really cool, the Xbox Elite of GameCube controllers. And then they funded astronomically. So my hope is that signals to the market that it's like, there'll always be a console enthusiast bracket that as long as we're willing to put a little money into developing this, we could actually sell, maybe 10,000 of these things that would actually make its money back. Because people would pay $200 for a wireless GameCube controller, for example. I have no idea how much it's actually costing.
I guess they probably can't, like the system that the Joy-Cons use to communicate to the Switch is proprietary.
It's all
right?
Bluetooth, ultimately.
But it's like it's probably specially encoded
for
like third parties can't make Joy-Cons.
You can't take a Switch Pro controller and hook it up to a computer. Unless you can find a stack that can actually do it, right?
I think you can.
Like, it is Bluetooth, like it will communicate, but I don't know if it's a straight Bluetooth.
You can connect Joy-Cons to your computer.
Can you?
Yeah.
Do you have to use a special stack for that?
I don't think so.
Okay, then
I've never done it, but I don't think you do.
It's just a Bluetooth human interface device then, and if that's the case,
a lot of the third-party Joy-Cons you see are for handheld only, and I assume that's just because they're way cheaper to produce at that point.
But you can't take a DualSense and connect it to your Switch. Like, they literally have things in place to prevent you from taking a third-party controller that has not been blessed by Nintendo from being able to join the Switch.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah.
I think it's the same. Like, you can't just take any random controller and hook it up to an Xbox or a PlayStation either.
What you can do is you can take like the 8-bit DOE. Like, I have an SF30 Pro, which Heather got me for Christmas a few years back. Took me a while to unwrap it and use it, right? But that does Bluetooth hook up to my Switch, and you can also say, well, I don't want it in Switch mode, I want it in PC mode, or I want it in PlayStation mode. So I guess the possibility exists that you can do stuff like that.
Well, I have an 8-bit DOE USB thing that lets me hook up my PS4 controller so that it reads it as a Switch Pro controller on on my Switch. It only works docked, but that's generally when I use that, so...
Anyway. Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origins. Which is a game that's coming out. You may not know. By the way, this is not... There was also another story this week that Final Fantasy 16, there's no information about. They released the thing being like, we're going to announce some stuff about Final Fantasy 16 in like the first part of 2022.
Oh, an announcement about an announcement. Okay,
Yeah.
Got it. Yeah. Didn't they tell us they were making 16 back when the PS5 released?
Yeah. It's been apparently delayed.
Oh, I mean, I don't doubt that. I'm pretty sure that's like the first time we heard about 16.
Yeah. So it's like, yeah, the information we have about 16 is it is coming and it has been delayed.
Whenever system comes out and they're like, hey, look at all the cool games we're going to have for this system, most of those are not coming out right away. That's just marketing. We need to sell a system. You need to know all the stuff that's going to come, so please buy.
So anyway,
but Stranger's Paradise.
Yeah, Final Fantasy Origin, which, to be honest, I'm not totally sure.
I think it's the Final Fantasy 1 remake, essentially, right?
It's
like
the
a
one.
retelling.
It's
right.
the before one, isn't it?
It stars John Connor, and he's a badass in a
No, I
t-shirt.
got confused by this one when they announced it.
So they one of the things they've announced is, or one of the things they're talking about is the digital deluxe version will have 3 pieces of exclusive DLC.
Pre-order DLC.
Pre-order DLC. The digital deluxe pre-order.
Let's really, it's scummy. So let's really
Trials
talk
of the
about
Dragon King, Wanderer of the Rift, and Different Future.
Yes. No one knows what any of these things mean.
Nobody knows what any of these things mean. The problem is, 1, Final Fantasy 15 quite famously had DLC that actually made the game make sense.
Oh.
That if you didn't have the DLC, it was like, oh, that is important. 2, the game has been on this game is coming out soon. It has been on pre-order for a while. If you didn't pre-order it, if you didn't pre-order the digital deluxe version, you don't get this. If you pre-ordered the physical version, you also, even the like deluxe physical version, you still don't get this.
This doesn't come with a physical version at all.
And
there are people who are like, I can't upgrade from pre-ordering the digital standard version even.
Yeah, and this DLC will not, this is not just you get the DLC for free. This will not be available any other way. Other than, apparently. Maybe they'll rescind that. But apparently this DLC will not be available any other way other than the digital deluxe edition of the game, which runs for $90.
Because normally what you would do if you're announcing DLC is like, hey, the DLC is coming out. Hey, you can also just buy it all together in the thing. The word also comes up, right?
Right.
This is a case where they've said, this comes with these 3 additional missions. We are not saying anything about any other way that you can get these things, which is basically meant to drive FOMO in people to be like, well, I want to get the best, most complete version. That's what a deluxe edition is.
That's the other thing, too. They haven't said what is included in these missions, so no one knows if they're like just extras that are fun or extras that you need to have for story reasons.
Yeah. And it's like the best, we're in this weird situation where like the best case scenario is that these DLC missions suck.
Yeah.
And they're not needed at all. They're just
in which case the digital deluxe people are getting ripped off.
Trials of the Dragon King does not sound like the kind of thing that's just like a 5-item fetch quest, right? Like,
that sounds like
imagine if it was.
That sounds like the subtitle for a Final Fantasy, right? Like just a general Final Fantasy game.
Yeah, so it's pretty scummy.
Yeah.
Get me 10 bear asses. You have pleased the Dragon King.
Yeah. The Dragon King he's not that demanding, it turns out. Yeah.
No, he's got a lot of what he needs, so.
So, poop on that.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, it'd still be pretty scummy even if they told us what the content was, but at least at that point you'd be able to kind of make a decision.
Oh, Jesus.
With information.
Laserbeak says, I bet it's a 99-floor dungeon. Don't put that bad juju in the world like that.
Yeah, it's clearly a 100-floor dungeon.
Yeah, the 99th battle is a must-die battle. That would be sickening. Oh my god. Right, where are we?
Okay, so before I get into this story does have a minor spoiler. This talking about this does have a minor spoiler for the new Matrix.
Alrighty.
I've already read the story, so I've been spoiled.
So go ahead and mute if you want that. It's not a big plot point.
I read it, and I didn't think there was anything relevant.
What's the most general way you can state the topic so that everyone knows they have to mute or not?
I mean, it's about the new Matrix.
Okay,
movie.
There we go. It's about the new Matrix movie.
It's about a tiny thing that happens in the new Matrix movie.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So one of the things in the new Matrix movie is that within the context of the movie, the first 3 Matrix movies were actually video games made by a company in the game. So the idea that they're reframing it as if the Matrix movies were video games made by a company within the Matrix.
Neat.
Yes.
Okay.
It's kind of a cool idea. Mm-hmm. But anyway, in order for that to work, so the idea is that they came out in, when the Matrix movies came out in 99 and stuff. And then they have footage. They got they talked to Jeff Keighley,
mm-hmm.
and they got footage of Keanu Reeves accepting a Game Award.
Yeah, for the Matrix game.
In 1999, when the
Brilliant.
Game Awards didn't exist.
Right.
Yes.
So they de-aged Keanu as well, I'm guessing, for that?
I mean,
there's some talk about de-aging in Matrix Resurrections, so...
Has
Keanu
And
aged?
he hasn't aged.
Keanu aging in the new movie is he has a beard now.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
But-
Yeah.
He is a well-preserved
But
man.
the point of this article is, if the Game Awards did exist then, what did the Matrix game beat out?
Right. So these are the
Oh.
other games. These are the other games that were up for awards, or that were well. Okay, the Game Awards didn't exist.
Right,
in
but would
99.
have been nominated.
These are the other big games that came out at that time.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a good article
It would
concept.
have been
really.
up against Chrono Cross,
Mm-hmm.
Tony Hawk Pro Skater, EverQuest,
Okay.
Final Fantasy VIII,
Oh, wow, okay.
Soul Calibur, Silent Hill, System Shock 2,
Jesus.
and Siphon Filter.
Yeah,
These
this
are
game had to have been actually quite good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was The Matrix. Did you see The Matrix? It was
I-
quite
I-
in depth.
I did.
There's
I
a
don't
lot
have
going on.
any memory of it.
Yeah, there was a man named the Merovingian, and nobody knows what the fuck he was doing there.
Shenmue came out in Japan on December 29th, 1999.
Right.
But it didn't come out in the West until 2000, so it probably wouldn't have been a candidate. Quake 3, December 2nd, 1999.
Yeah, I would have
So
missed
might
the
have-
deadline.
You missed the cutoff, yeah.
Well, yeah, because the cutoff for the Game Awards is like sometime in November, I think, because the Game Awards are in December, so they have to get
Yeah, if you get
The
the voting
voting.
in.
in.
Yeah.
That's why sometimes December games that come out, if a game comes out in December in the previous year, it's sometimes why you'll see it in the Game Awards the next
Yeah.
year, because that's
Also, Unreal Tournament, the original Unreal Tournament,
Jesus.
which apparently Epic Epic produced Matrix Awakenings, the video game tie-in with the new Matrix movie, which is kind of funny.
The what I think is interesting about this is that so Polygon wrote the article that we're drawing this from. How much of how many awards did these games win from Electronics Gaming Monthly and GamePro and all the magazines and
Right.
Byte Mag or Edge
Well,
Magazine or
I mean,
Edgelord Magazine.
you say that, and yet, the Game Awards and what typically ends up being on the top Game of the Year lists for a lot of companies don't generally line up.
Right, but if you're trying to get an idea of like what because that's the thing, that's kind of, but that, I think that's also kind of the point I'm making, is that all of these other magazines say, here's our games of the year, like here's our top 5 games of the year or whatever, right? And so how many of those games actually made it to slot 1 in that list? Because that would be a very telling way of saying, well, what's your game of the year? I'm like, well, I guess it would be System Shock 2. And were there 3 different magazines that said System Shock 2 and nobody else said anything? Or was everybody like, if you used ranked voting, like transferable voting, you could basically say, these are the top 5, so that we know what the top 5 games would have been voted for by these people. And if you rank them out that way, then you'd have an idea of like, well, if you take all of the media companies that existed at that time who were busy ranking games, and these are their top 5, we could actually come up with an aggregate to say, this was the top game of the year based on everyone's like runoff voting or aggregate voting. I think that'd be actually a really interesting thing for somebody who has a love of stats to kind of deep dive into.
Sure, but like the Game Awards show you the nominees and then they tell you who won.
Yeah.
They don't tell you who won in what order.
No, exactly.
And the point of this is the Matrix beat out all of them.
Exactly. You know what the top one
Weirdly.
is, and it would just be interesting to see. It's like, well, what was their largest competitor? Was it Soul Calibur? Did that take number 1?
Did Metafilter exist at the time?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I don't even know how many magazines were actually around in 1999, because there would have been
Metacritic, sorry, not Metafilter. Metacritic.
There would have been a fair number of even specialty magazines around at that time.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely. There would have been a lot of
Before a bunch of them died and went into website.
But I want to think that's also fair, because you'd have Nintendo Power saying, here's our top 5 games of the year, but then you'd have PlayStation Magazine saying, here's our top 5 games of the year. It's like, okay, that still counts.
Pretty sure most of those games listed there weren't on a Nintendo device.
No, they were not.
Yeah, this
No
the
Nintendo games of the year.
the game in the the game in the movie will be a PC game.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like a big MMO thing. Anyway. Also, the funny part of it is that, of course, Keanu Reeves himself was a presenter at the Game Awards last year for Cyberpunk.
Yes. And this year he was there to talk about the new movie.
And next year, maybe he'll be there to talk about something else.
Maybe
Anyway.
another Matrix game.
You know what games came out in '99 for Nintendo systems?
I'm
only going to throw out 2, okay?
It'd be Nintendo 64?
Yeah, actually, that's great.
Okay, 99. Pokemon Stadium.
Close.
Dang it.
Pokemon Gold and Silver.
Okay.
And Super Smash Brothers.
Oh,
Both
yeah.
came out in '99.
Oh, man, the original Smash.
Oh, somebody has already done. Thank you, Wikipedia. What are the top-rated games of the year from all the different...
Yeah.
Well, yeah, of course someone's done it.
Game of the year from EGM, GameSpot, and Hyper was Soul Calibur.
I like the idea that that this game that was being made, in 1999, it was like, across the board. It's like EGM, Matrix, Game Awards, Matrix, Matrix, Nintendo, the Nintendo magazine, Smash Brothers.
Yeah. Oh God. Okay. What's the cutoff for the Game Awards?
Generally the end of November.
The end of November.
Let's say.
Oh, okay. In November 23rd, 1998, was the North American release of Ocarina of Time.
Yeah, that's...
So it would have been the year prior.
That's too early.
Yeah.
It would have been just the year prior.
Anyway, if you stopped listening because we were talking about a Matrix thing, we're done now.
We're done doing the spoilers. If you've muted your stream, hand wave gestures.
Seaman should have won. I can't believe the Matrix beat Seaman.
But we're not done talking about awards because they had the Japanese television network TV
Asahi.
Asahi
Yeah. Like the beer.
I know. I want to put in the extra S.
did
Asahi Shimbun.
a special contest to rate the best game of all time.
Yep. Console game.
Best console game of all time.
Now, we'll point out 50,000 people across Japan.
50,000. So this is what, according to Japanese gamers, 50,000 people. That's a pretty good sample
Yes,
size.
but I want to point out it's in Japan, which will
Japanese,
change things.
According to Japanese, so this is Japanese console gamers, the best game of all time, Legend of Zelda,
Breath of the
Breath of the
Wild.
Breath of the Wild.
I had an argument with Beach after we read this article because he has said that Persona 5 Royal and Persona 5 shouldn't have 2 slots because they are the same game. He's wrong. They're not. By technicality.
One's just a DLC pack.
If it was just a DLC pack, they would have just actually made DLC.
So funny thing though, if we look at the list, because Heather kept saying like, where do you think this comes in on the list? Where do you think this comes in on the list? I'm like, it's 100. I'm gonna, I have to guess. I'm basically just, if we had just played a game of, hey, I'm thinking of a number, guess between 1 and 100 what number I'm thinking of. That's a fun game, right? So what?
It was fun for me.
What's game number 100?
The bottom,
The absolute bottom of the top 100.
100.
Persona 3,
Right. What's number 98?
Persona 4.
Man, not looking good for Persona at that
Yeah.
point, is it? That they're so low down the list. What's number 93?
Persona 5.
Right. Where's
Persona 5 Royal.
And where's Persona 5 on this list?
Persona 5 is around the 50 mark, I think. If I'm remembering right.
There it is.
42.
42. I think that's so weird. Because this is the kind of poll that you do to get like people frothing at the mouth and get them involved to vote on stuff, obviously. And I'm like, all the other Persona games like still crack the top 100. Good for them, right? But right near the bottom and all kind of clustered together. But then 42 was halfway up the list above it. Like Persona 5 is that high up the list.
Also, the implication here is that Persona 5 Royal was worse than Persona 5.
I think less people played it because they played the first one.
And I think that means that
it's more likely.
Yeah, it's like that means so many more people must have played the original Persona 5. Whereas what most people will say is that if you're going to play a Persona game, wait until the second one comes out.
Because again, I want to point out Persona 5 and Persona 5 Royal are considered separate games. Persona 4 is on here, but Persona 4 Golden is not on here. Persona 3 is on here, but Persona 3 Portable is not on here.
Exactly.
Again, still technically separate games.
Yeah, where does SMT5 come in on this list?
That one's...
It is on this list, which is weird,
up,
right?
But I can't remember.
Because that
just came out.
It just came out. There is definitely the recency bias, right?
There's a billion Pokemon games on this list.
Yeah, basically all of the various Pokemon games are on here somewhere.
The generations that go together are considered one, and then otherwise they're separate.
Skyward Sword made it on the list, which is not what I would have ever assumed, but because Skyward Sword came out in HD recently, that might have triggered people's memory of this game, right? A lot of Animal Crossing on this list.
Yeah, a lot of Fire Emblem.
Yeah. And not just like New Horizons, which is very high. New Leaf made it.
I said the game Xevious, and Beach freaked out.
I started laughing so hard when she said
which was weird.
Xevious.
I still don't know what that game is.
Xevious is a top-down shooter from like the late 80s, made by Namco. It was one of their first games outside of Pac-Man. It's really, I guess, well, they own Pac-Man, but anyway, it was real weird to just hear, oh yeah, Xevious, Pac-Man's not even on this list, I don't think.
Yeah.
I think people don't think of it as a console game.
Undertale is on this list, and that's like the one game that I think is really interesting that it hit 13.
And it is, I think, technically the only indie on the top 100.
Depends on,
depending on how you determine an indie, but most of these games don't seem like.
Well, there's very few of these that are by non-Japanese developers too, right?
Yeah.
There's Minecraft,
Yep.
is number 20, and you've got Tetris, sort of.
I mean, Tetris hitting 25 still in this day and age is still something.
Mother 2 is on the list, which is
Undertale.
Earthbound, right? But Mother is on this list, which I'm like, no, it shouldn't be. Mother is not a good game. Like, it's hard to play. There's only one thing.
Dark Souls 3 is on here.
Yeah, there's like one game on this list that is completely in Japanese language as well. Momotaro Densetsu Showa Heisei Reiwa mo Teiban, that's the list of the last 3 eras of Japan: Showa, Heisei, and Reiwa. So this is clearly a time-based game. But it's the only one that's in the full Japanese language. It never got a localization.
Right, which I guess really isn't that much of a detriment when you're polling Japanese people.
Right.
But
it's weird to think that that's the only one that is like that. So, yeah.
I feel like one of the things that this list could be good for, like, obviously, these are the, while opinions differ as to where things should go on this list, this is a pretty good list of just, like, these are all great games.
Yeah.
I feel like this might be a good list. Like, the number of games on this list that are part of franchises is very, very large.
Yeah.
And so I feel like if you're like, I want to play, I've never played a Pokemon game, or I've never played a Legend of Zelda game, or I've never played a Kingdom Hearts game, or whatever, or I've never, or I've never played a Mario game, or whatever. This might be a good one to be like, what's the top game from that franchise that's on this list?
Yeah.
That might be a good thing to go for.
I don't know if you want to hit into Kingdom Hearts starting with Kingdom Hearts 2. I don't know that's where you are.
I don't know.
On the other hand, what Dragon Quest game, according to this list, what Dragon Quest game should I play?
Dragon Quest V?
Really? I mean, Dragon Quest 3, Dragon Quest 3 finished number 6. Dragon Quest 5 finished number 2. Those are very close rankings. But then again, right. Dragon Quest 4 finished in 15th place. That's also pretty close. All the friggin' Dragon Quest games made it onto this list.
If you want,
I mean, it's like
chat. If you wanted a gaming challenge to do this,
don't they just have like a holiday in Japan when a new Dragon Quest game comes out? Yeah.
Just go to NintendoLife.com, look up the Japan's top 100 console games of all time list, and play these in the order of the list, starting with number 1. Do 100 games. And that's going to be hard because there's a lot of RPGs on
I feel like you should start with 100.
Oh yeah.
If you start with 1, it's just going to get disappointing as you go backwards.
Just start playing Persona 3.
You're not going to get through all of 100 though. So you should start at number 1 and then I don't know, when you get to like
I'm not sure it's possible
20.
to play all of these and still be alive by the time you make it to the first game. Like it's too much.
If you just that'd be a good run this list through the like how long to finish or whatever, how long to beat, and just like what's the full length of this. Of this hypothetical person who has played all of these games.
We could straight up do a whole show in 1 year. That's twice a week. That you every time there's a thing, you have to play the next game on the list for at least 3 hours.
Just 3 hours. Oh man, that's gonna be no
real confusing.
The first 3 hours of Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild, while they're nice, you're not getting off that plateau.
Nope.
Unless you're a speedrunner.
Yeah.
The first 3 hours of Dragon Quest V are gonna be nothing. Final Fantasy VII, the first 3 hours is going to be nothing.
I mean, Kathleen's been playing Shin Megami Tensei for the last month.
Right.
We've done several hours of Animal Crossing New Horizons.
But on the other hand, 3 hours of spot number 21, Splatoon, is plenty. And if you would like to play spot number 5, Splatoon 2, I guess the finest arena shooter ever made, there you go.
Tetris. On there,
3 hours of Tetris.
It's just 3 hours of a bunch of different Pokemon games is gonna be.
You're gonna do a lot of
Are you a boy or a girl? Cool.
Yeah.
Did you at least get a Pokemon this stream? Awesome.
Yeah.
The end.
You caught something great.
I don't know.
How many Pidgeys do you have in your inventory?
We might need to make that stream longer than 3 hours.
Oh, I didn't even look to see what the 18th game on the list is, but that's really funny.
Oh, for
18
games and counting?
Yeah, what would it have been?
Yeah,
Somebody else can... Well, here we go. We got it back.
Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater.
There you go.
That's a good game.
Mm-hmm.
I played it.
You'd spend 3 hours there, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I've beaten that game.
Well, chat, if you tried a little harder, they could have played Ocarina of Time. Or Suikoden 2.
Hey, you know who we haven't heard about in a while?
I hate everything about the title here.
Yeah, that guy should not be alive anymore.
Logan Paul.
Great.
I like the way you just kind of trailed off on your he's a gentleman who is shall we say has been a little done some controversial stuff in the past.
Walked into a forest.
Yeah.
Suicides and things.
Related to video games, the most recent thing he's done that has pissed people off is he took a whole bunch of Game Boy Colors which can be quite collectible.
And there's a couple special editions in this thing as well, from what I understand.
And made an epoxy resin table out of them. Like he put them all together and like covered the entire and like filled the whole thing with like epoxy resin.
Rather than like put like a piece of
rather than put like a thing on top
of it,
they're actually
so
all like sealed.
Take all these old ass Game Boys off.
Yeah.
So you could switch them out, or yeah.
I mean, I feel like the response, the general response on Twitter, what is the like heavy sigh like you just did?
Yeah.
But translated into Twitter, that means yelling at a person. But
there's no confirmation from him as of yet, at least from the article, on whether or not these were broken.
Yeah.
And not repairable or anything like that. So it's kind of the way it is. The most people are angry about it, and then there's a few people who are just like, whatever.
I mean,
which, sure.
I mean, obviously, they're his things. He bought them. He can do whatever he wants with them.
I think there was only like 15 of them.
But it's like for a while there was like a trend of people like buying expensive, hard to acquire electronics this was more like around like the PlayStation 3 era or Switches or different video game systems or other pieces of electronics, and then like smashing them like on making like a YouTube video of it.
Yeah.
It would be like, I'm gonna smash this.
Yeah.
Woo! And they get lots of views and stuff. And it's like, it's your thing.
Yeah.
You're perfectly in your rights to do it.
Still
kind of a dick move.
Separated from the person who I do not like for a variety of reasons. The idea of taking a bunch of Game Boys and throwing resin on top of them to make a thing, as a person who like crafts stuff, whatever, that I don't think it's I think there are better ways to go about it. Personally, for myself, I would want something where I could move things out and do some other stuff with it. But sure.
Yeah.
I guess in the scheme of things, though, if we look at this, is that since it's 18 years old, or it discontinued 18 years ago. Anyway, if you look at the Game Boy Color, and really everything in the Game Boy family leading up to the Game Boy Color, Nintendo sold 118 million of these. So
there's a few of them around.
If we assume half of them have just ended up in a landfill, just completely broken, that's a lot, too, right? But you're like, there's 50 million sitting in a landfill that are just completely broken. Even if Paul acquired 15, not million, just 15 Game Boys, and then did this thing to them, it's like, okay, it's kind of this thing where it's like, I wish you had done something much more interesting than make a table out of this. Like if you had done something that kind of like, it lights up. It's like, so what? Like, why don't you? Do they work? Can you make them work? Right.
That's the thing. I just don't think it's that interesting. I think there would have been a better way to go about it. I would feel a little bit better knowing if those were like completely broken as opposed to working well Game Boys, because you've permanently placed them in a thing where now they can't work.
Yeah.
But I don't like taking electronics, especially when they still work, and making them utterly useless.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Anyway.
I like Thor Sokar's thing. Way more Game Boys have been sacrificed by chiptune people. And it's true. A lot of people who make chiptunes, they buy Game Boys and then they circuit bend them so they can and utilize them for that purpose, right?
But that is putting them to a useful purpose.
Absolutely it is.
Which is fun.
Yeah.
Anyway. Lego is making a Sonic set. I guess
that's pretty cool,
this is
actually.
part of the this is part of the 30-year anniversary thingamadoodle. So they're making a set, a special edition Sonic set here. I can show you a picture of it here. That you can see it's got like, I love that it has like the checkerboard. That like I'm assuming you build the checkerboard, but like
yeah.
it's checkerboarded. it comes with a Sonic, which
is kind of partway.
Oh,
Is it just a Lego dude in a Sonic suit?
It's
minifig.
it's a Lego. It's a Lego dude with like a Sonic head,
right,
and painted with Sonic things, which makes him look kind of tubby for a Sonic, but that's just the shape of a Lego guy's body.
Absolutely right. And yet the
Ro-
Dr. Eggman.
Yeah, Robotnik is his own thing. But stuff I love about this, there's little transparent posts to put the rings on,
That's cool.
and like little transparent posts to have like a floating
This is from
platform.
what Sonic game is this supposed to be from?
This
Sonic 1 Green Hill Zone.
So why are the Chaos Emeralds in it?
show me one.
Those are the Chaos Emeralds.
Oh, they are. Oh yeah.
Those are from Sonic 2, aren't they?
I don't think Chaos Emeralds showed up until Sonic and Knuckles. I could be wrong about that.
No, I think the emeralds were always kind of a thing. It's just that
They're in the first game? Really?
yeah, I think they're a thing you fight over. Yeah.
There are only
only
6.
six.
though.
There's definitely 7 in that.
Yeah. But the best thing is the bouncy the bouncy platform works.
Oh, it's got a spring in it.
Yeah,
Nice.
it actually does bounce.
That's cool.
So
That's cool.
I mean, to be honest, I was always under the impression that nobody cared about Sonic 1 because by the time I got a Sega Genesis, it only came with Sonic 2.
Right. That's a fair point.
I mean, Sonic 2 and is also very good.
Is any part of this activated by firmware? Like, can you?
There's
No,
there's no electronics in
This
this.
is
I don't think.
this set is from the Lego Ideas program where you can submit what you want a set to
Ah.
be, and then if you can get enough people who want it, they potentially will approve it and make it a set.
Right.
And like you see lots of these articles show up for stuff like Legend of Zelda, and previously there have been Mario ones and stuff as well that even though they're very popular, never get through because again they still have to get licensing.
Exactly. Yeah.
So again, I mean, this is actually, I guess, a recurring thing today is the again sort of community support stuff. It's not Kickstarter, but it's sort of a similar.
Kind of seeing a bit of a trend in what's available during the last week, where it's like, hey, let's go look at all the stuff that's going on that gamers are doing as opposed to gaming companies are doing.
Yeah. Anyway, it looks like a legitimately pretty cool.
It looks like a neat set, like as
Lego
far
set.
as something Sonic related goes. I think it's quite good.
Yeah.
You got a loop de loop and a little bridge and coins and a couple little robot bad guys.
It's got water down below the bridge. I like that.
No, you don't want water around Sonic.
But that's a nice touch, obviously.
You don't want that drowning noise in your head forever.
Oh, that's the worst.
It looks very fiddly though. Like it looks like a lot of 1x1s and 1x2s.
Also, this article has informed me what the names of the Sonic crab guy and the Sonic like little bug with a jet engine.
I've never known the bug one.
What they're actually called.
All right, you know the crab one then?
Oh, I just called it a crab.
Oh,
There's
okay.
crab meat and Motobug.
All right.
I did not know those guys' names. Anyway.
Motobug.
All right. Well, we've had a lot of very positive, nice news. So let's end on bummer news. Well, not actually.
Yeah,
this is
it's
good.
not really bummer news. It's just another one of those.
It's a bummer that it had to happen, but it's positive that it did.
Oh, but I'm gonna find another angle that makes it shitty again. Don't worry.
Oh,
I have
good.
one in the back of my
Oh,
head.
good. I'm glad that you're here for
Yeah,
that.
I'm glad Beach is here to
Um,
make the somewhat okay news kind of a bummer.
So you probably saw that. You may have seen news about this. Riot has resettled their gender discrimination lawsuit
Right.
for $100 million.
Did they pay?
They're paying $100 million. $20 million of that is going towards the attorney fees for the class action thing.
Mm-hmm.
$80 million is going to be
Wage equitability.
disseminated among, I think it's among.
It was
people-
class action, so it's all the women who were.
It's anybody who was working for, or any people working for Riot from 2014.
all current and former California employees and contractors who identify as women and worked at Riot Games between November 2014 and present day qualify for a payout.
Now, you said there's two important things here, and the first one, though, you said is resettled.
Yeah. So, what's fun? So, what I like about this, or one of the things that have done this, so, of course, they've settled with this, and they're trying, as you would expect, Riot is attempting to kind of spin it.
Yep.
So that it's like not a good thing for them, but like, what is this? What's the in the statement? 3 years ago, Riot was at the heart of what became a reckoning in our industry. We had to face the fact that despite our best intentions, we hadn't always lived up to our values. As a company, we stood at a crossroads. We could deny the shortcomings of our culture, or we could apologize, correct course, and build a better Riot. We chose the latter. We're incredibly grateful to every Rioter who has worked to create a culture where inclusivity is the norm, where we're deeply committed to fairness and equality, and when embracing diversity fuels creativity and innovation. So, I was like, let's go back. To 2018 is when this was originally brought as early 2018 it was people started.
We were all made aware of what was going on.
And then later in 2018, a lawsuit became a class action lawsuit, which was then settled for $10 million.
Yeah.
So it was settled for $10 million.
And that was like between Riot and the class action, there was an agreement that we will settle this for this much money.
Yeah. The Department of Fair Housing and Employment, which is a department we haven't heard anything of until like the last 2 years.
They've been coming up a lot lately.
Yeah.
They're doing yeoman's work. California's Department of Fair Housing and Employment, yeah.
So this was an agreement that was agreed to by the class action lawyers and the Riot's lawyers. The Department for Fair
Housing and Employment.
Fair Housing and
Fair
Employment.
Employment and Housing, is it? DFEH, yes.
Yeah. Said, no, I think you can do better. They were basically like, we think that the class action was settled for too little money.
Yeah.
Go back, give them more money.
And they had to. They had to. The judge was not going to sign off on that because the department had already said you can't just say this. Now, happy news, obviously, that they settled for 10 times as much than they were originally going to settle for. That does mean that, of course, that $20 million gets peeled off to go to attorney's fees. But this is the second part. This is the bad news part of it, that I saw, as far as I'm concerned. And great that they got more money.
Well, they haven't yet.
Yeah, well, that they're supposed to, though. But so there's that.
No, they literally still have to do a hearing to finalize approval and stuff.
Oh, so the DFEH could still get involved.
Technically, it's not done. It's just, this is what has been happening, and then once they make it through this final step, that's what will happen.
So there is a point, I did read this in an article, it might have been the Ars Technica article, where the wage differential, the amount that Riot could have potentially been on the hook for, was $400 million. So that's the thing where I'm like, oh, bad news. That if anyone is going to get a settlement out of this, potentially they could have qualified for 4 times as much. Potentially.
Right.
And that's the thing where it's like, so will this, and you make your point, Heather, will this pass muster? Will the DFEH say, okay, come on, that's 10 times more than what you did, but let's be real here. You actually owe even more money than that. And who knows?
I mean, maybe, probably not. I like to point out whenever, because a lot of article headlines we get will be like, oh, this thing is happening. And then when you get to the bottom of the article, it's like, technically it's not quite done yet. And I like to point that out because until it's actually complete and done and payouts have happened, things go differently.
Yeah,
sometimes.
It's true.
Other things happen, people find a way to squirm out, but then they've had that press that says, oh, they did this good thing already.
I love that they have this thing being like, 3 years ago, we could, we were at this crossroads with our company culture, and we decided 3 years ago to do the right thing,
which was
negotiate
a shitty settlement.
Yeah, which was the shitty settlement, and then they got told to give more money.
We
So
decided to pay women a fraction of what they should have been earning. That's how we reckoned with it.
When someone starts with, "Oh, hey, we were at the center of a bad thing, despite our best intentions," and I'm like, I don't think you had best intentions, to be honest. I don't believe you. But those are some pretty words you used.
Yeah.
I can't if we had done CheckPoint, I think that would have been our pivot, is to be like, how's that, right? You decided to reckon with paying women a fraction of what they're earning by compensating them with a fraction of what they should have earned?
You gotta get some better intentions than your best intentions.
Yeah.
And I highly doubt that you're all inclusive now.
And so one of the things that I do appreciate about this is obviously this particular settlement, the main chunk of the money is for women who have been working there since December 2014 or whatever. But what's neat about this is that in addition to obviously there's bringing in a third party to figure out making sure that their wage system is more equitable. They also are one of the things that has to be implemented, or that is being implemented, is better through lines for contractors and temp workers to become fully employed at the company.
That's good.
Transparency, pay scale, pay scale transparency for new hires. So that people know what they're being hired, what price not only they're being hired for, but what other people are paying.
Yeah.
So stuff that's like not just it's like we're going to help all these people who were wronged in the past, but also moving forward we're going to be theoretically it's going to benefit everybody, any contractors or temporary workers or new workers working for the company now, in whatever capacity or going forward. So that's got to be a positive aspect to this. Hopefully.
It's weird to me when I keep hearing stuff like that, because all the stuff about pay scales and where people fit in and asking for raises and all that has always seemed weird to me, because every job that I've ever worked has either paid minimum wage, so I knew what I was making, or I've worked for a union that had a grid. Because I've always worked in post-secondary, right? So
right.
All the colleges and universities and stuff that I've worked for, when you arrive, they're like, here's what you make to start.
Right.
Everybody knows what you make.
That's one of the big things. That's one of the union things.
Yeah.
Obviously, Riot is not a union shop for the variety of reasons.
But I've always assumed that was kind of the thing too. Is it's like when you start working at a place that everybody's like, oh, he's in that job. So we know he's making $37 a year, and we know that his raises are going to work. I'm like, why wouldn't you just make a fucking grid and let everyone sit on the grid? Then you would know what everyone's making. But
that, the more information that the employer has that the employee does not.
Yeah.
The more power that gives to the employer.
Yeah, I just assumed it'd be easier to manage.
Oh, no.
But that grid, those kind of things is one of the things that unions usually is like one of the first things they try to implement.
Yeah.
Yeah. The transparency thing is really important. I've worked many jobs where the moment someone else has found out what somebody else has made and then went and demanded a raise or equal treatment because of that, they have mysteriously gotten less hours and not gotten that raise.
Yep.
And you've worked a lot of entry-level retail.
A lot of retail.
Yeah.
Higher entry.
That's true.
I've made it all the way up to management levels.
That's true.
And stuff. I've not been paid well.
No.
But I've been there.
Anyway, that was the last story. That was that. I think it was a big story that came out this week. But this is, however, obviously, the last. This is New Year's Eve day. We're at now.
Mm-hmm.
This is December 31st. Now, and we've seen there's lots of everybody's talking about what their best X best game of the year, and then if you look at the various places, they like divide like best RPG of the year, best blah 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 of the year. You know, they get it down to really fine details.
Yeah.
But I was thinking about what about like in terms of stories that we've covered on CheckPoint. I was trying to think about this. Like, what are the what was your favorite or your the stories for CheckPoint that we covered this year?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously the most extensive coverage this year was the whole Blizzard Activision thing.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't really call that like a positive.
But we spent a lot of time on it.
We did spend a lot of time on that.
Yeah.
And I definitely want to shout out to Graham on that, because he was the one who was primarily on doing those stories and doing I don't something pretty close to what I would call actual journalism on these things.
Yeah.
You know, we don't usually do what I would consider journalism on CheckPoint. We're mostly looking at what other people have
and then telling you opinions
and talking about our opinions. But some of the Blizzard Activision stuff required actually going through the court documents and looking at what people were actually doing primary source investigation on stuff, like what people are actually did say about stuff. And in order to try and give, because there's so much stuff going on with these things, often there'll be quite a few different reports all coming out from different things. And so Graham did spend a lot of time going through some of those stories.
I don't recall actual CheckPoint stories that made it to CheckPoint, but I do remember us talking about on ChillPoint the Gengar plush, because then we played the Gengar. The voice clips. That made me very happy.
Lark Sarcosis, that was one of my favorite stories. That the speedrunning glitch in Mario 64 that was the result of a cosmic ray hitting the device.
Weird.
That was beautiful.
That was pretty good. Yeah.
Because a lot of the speedrunning stories we talked about, speedrunning always fascinates me as a topic. The way that people have gotten more and more deep into it. I just find totally fascinating, while also not actually being that interested in doing it myself.
We had that
as a spectator,
that story about unpacking and how people can't tell what a GameCube is from a rice cooker. That was fun.
Yeah,
I enjoyed that.
Did that story make you then want to play unpacking, or did you play unpacking? You had been playing unpacking before?
I knew about unpacking for like months before that.
Oh, okay.
Was I didn't play it till after that story, but I was waiting for Desert Bus to end as like I'll play this game. It seems very chill, kind of thing. I like to have a chill downtime game after Desert Bus.
Yeah, I mean, the Desert Bus game is super intense.
And to be honest, they don't have any labels on any of what any of the things are, because you're not supposed to have labels and things. You're supposed to look at and be like, oh, okay, whatever.
Right.
And I could understand maybe somebody looking at this object and being like, I don't know what that is. I would have thought maybe more CD player though, like, or something like that, as opposed to rice cooker, which I think was what some people, because some people were trying to put it in the kitchen.
Now I kind of want like a GameCube shaped rice cooker. Like
I'd be pretty down for that.
That'd be a pretty stylish rice cooker.
I thought the GameCube was really neat because it had like the little handle and it was this cube thing.
Yeah.
Even though I didn't have one, we did have somebody steal like 6 of them out of cellars all at once.
Really?
One day, yeah. There were the doors on the
stupid handles. They're too easy to carry.
In the electronics section, weren't all actually alarmed, like they were supposed to, and the one that they were behind, the glass had like a bend in it, and so someone was able to bend it around the lock, and they just picked up a bunch of them and walked out the store.
I'm having a terrible time here because I'm going back looking
They
at
weren't. They weren't. They were like the Wii was out at that point. They weren't like the high selling item. Really, I don't think anyone cared.
Trying to get a sense of. I'm just going through all the thumbnails to try to be like, jog my memory. What was the thing that was really good? And I'm like, I don't know.
It's hard.
Here I am doing a story about Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. What? I did what?
That seems odd for you. That seems more of a Graham story.
Here's one called Yogurting. Clearly I would have talked about it, but the thumbnail shows off Blazeball. What? Oh, here, Scrupulous Fingor. Perfect.
Oh,
right.
I remember
Yeah,
Scrupulous
I remember that
Fingor.
one.
I can't tell you why I talked about Scrupulous Fingor.
It's because there were a bunch of fan projects that were putting him in place.
Yeah, the
Oh,
existence of Scrupulous Fingor.
That's right, yeah. I mean,
Yeah, I remember that one.
I mean, Game Stonks was a pretty good run of stuff.
Oh yeah,
That was
yeah.
pretty funny. Mostly, I mean, because it's the activist investor thing taken to ridiculous extremes, right? Which is why I appreciate it, where it's kind of like a bunch of people being like, you know what, we can screw over some hedge funds by doing this, and I'm like, yeah, I think that's kind of interesting to see what's going to happen here. Now, is that good for a bunch of people who put their pensions into a hedge fund because they were like, I need to live and make money, and I don't want to work anymore because I'm 80 years old. And it's like, oh, my money's disappeared because of this stupid shit. And it's like, yeah, that sucks.
And the argument being that also the people that more got screwed over are not the hedge funds, it was the actual investor.
Because we know it crashed like one hedge fund and that was it. But all the other investors who got individually involved a lot of them got screwed as well. So yeah, they got in too late and they lost a bunch of money. It's like,
we talked about like the Steam Deck.
Yeah.
That was a thing
A
this
few
year.
times, I think.
Because I'm trying to remember if the Playdate was a thing this year, but I think that might have been. Well, no, it might have been because they did an update about the Playdate where they also showed off like the weird TV radio accessory
The clock talk.
with the pen holder.
Yes.
Yeah, I think we did cover that.
So it's got a touchscreen? No, it's just a nice pen. It's just, or maybe
it's
not a great pen. Who
It's
fucking
got like
knows?
the thing you can attach it to the front. Analog Pocket was a thing this year.
Yeah.
Lots of handheld stuff.
Yeah. Which I know you appreciate.
Yeah.
I mean, the Switch OLED came out. That
The
was
SWOLED
cool,
is
but that was just
fine.
like that was like, hey, that's a thing that happened.
No, you
It's
call
like,
it by
okay.
its proper name.
SWOLED.
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 Man, that Switch got swole.
Yeah. Was there? I mean, I can't like. I go through the list and there's 3 stories in a row, or there's three checkpoints in a row that are basically just about Activision.
Yeah. We
just-
had a number that were about Apple and Fortnite as well this
Yeah.
year. Because I think that was early on in the year too.
Yeah.
With all the court case stuff. Them having to define what a game is and therefore making internet fights happen again.
We talked a lot about shoes, so Adidas got their thing
shoes.
in. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sonic was heavy because Sonic Anniversary.
That's true. Lots of dumb Sonic stuff that has nothing to do with the actual
Drip.
Sonic
There
games.
was Sonic Drip.
Right. Oh, yuck. All the really like
The
overly
necklaces.
bejeweled drip.
Yeah, there's just a ton of Sonic stuff for the Sonic's Anniversary.
Yeah.
Without any actual Sonic games.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Sonic Frontiers is coming.
And yeah, a bunch of stuff's
Honestly,
coming in 2022.
probably might be good.
Maybe it's like open world Sonic game.
Hey, Sonic games are like hit and miss. So if the last one was kind of a miss, maybe this will be a hit.
I wish I could remember the stories I wrote where I had giggled my ass off writing them. Because there was a couple like 3 months ago that was just like, oh yeah, this is good stuff. This is only for me, and I don't give a shit if anyone understands what I'm talking about. Those are the real wins.
The stories where we learn small details about Bij's childhood traumas.
That was always fun moments for me to just be able to write stuff that is like, oh well, here, let's let people into my life a little bit.
How many times did I use that safe search turn on graphic?
How many times did I mention Kroner? That's a good. That's a good
Oh,
point
definitely
too.
a lot. That was
Was
very
that-
much an intro.
Was that? Did you start that in 2021?
I think we started in 2020, actually.
Yeah.
I every time I had to mention money, I would always work it in there, but we started doing it a lot this year because I kept working that in. So, yeah. Everyone's asking, when are you going to do a Norwegian Kroner Supercut? And I'm like, why should we have to do that? I'll leave that up to you guys. Go
that
nuts.
sounds like a you problem.
Yeah.
Enough
You
words.
want it, you make it. Share it with me. I'd love to watch it.
Anyway, lots of cool stuff. Lots of fun things this year. If you if you're missing out on that, we didn't do Checkpoint this week, go back and watch some of your favorite episodes from the past. There are a lot. And remember what video game news used to be like. Basically the same.
Right, there was that time I got blocked on the Pokemon Center website.
Hey, we were unblocked by the morning,
Yeah.
thankfully. Not that I've ever bought anything from the Pokemon Center website. They didn't used to ship to Canada, and then they did, and I was like, awesome. And I looked at all the cool things, and I was like, later.
Yeah.
And so I still haven't bought anything.
Yeah. But I think in Checkpoint, we had a good year. And because, and if you're like us, and you are, then you had a good year too.
Oh, hey, Beach, can you grab a Checkpoint mug?
I can absolutely do that.
All right, be scrolling too fast on the website.
He scrolled down to try to find a thing, and the website went that you said that he scrolled faster than a human being was possible, and said he was a bot, which was news to me. But also, I was on that website trying to look up things at the time.
Here we go.
Ooh, in
Welcome
its box
to
and
ChillPoint.
everything.
This is a Checkpoint mug. You can find this at store.loadingreadyrun.com.
So
Please buy
fancy.
our mugs.
We still have several left. We are getting rid of them. That's been very good.
I'm sorry if you live in the UK and you cannot buy the mug, but don't worry, they will probably still be around by the time we fix that.
People have not seen the box before, so this is the fun
I
thing
like-
about a box is that you can
There's
print
several-
everywhere on a box.
Surprises.
Yeah.
There's some stuff on the inside of the box we're not going to show you.
Yep.
Did you know microwave is yes? Microwave is yes.
Mm-hmm.
Dishwasher is yes. Don't eat the mug.
No, do not eat them up.
Telling the joke that is the video game industry.
I should see how many we have left. Actually, I'm interested.
Let's
No, I brought up merch and now that's
now
all
let's thank the people who subscribed during this stream. Here we go.
Do-do-do-do.
Starting with Croco King, 84 months. Happy 84th birthday.
Yeah, and Totally Defiant has their 5-year birthday. Also, there's 185 mugs left, so they're going.
And out to CNN for a whole year.
Oh
The
boy,
one
Look at all the
years.
birthdays.
so many birthdays. Nami77 and Ross Ireland Prime both having a birthday.
I'm super excited that Duress Plus and Joba99 Grin both came back on your 2 months. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for subbing up for us, and thank you for
months.
coming back and spending more time here.
Demon Fire, thank you for gifting all of those subs.
And Demon Fire gifting a bunch of subs, sneaking in just before the end, but missed the actual scrolling part.
There have been so many of you that have been excellent supporters of the channel so far with your very generous subs and your generous bidding.
Yes. McOg, Ferrobender, and Gap Filler. Thanks for the bits.
It's always a weird stream when you end and you realize that Gap Filler hasn't put bits in because they probably weren't there. But it always seems like Gap Filler's got like 50 or 100 bits sitting around to be like, I'm just gonna bid at the end.
Look.
Not saying get
No
you.
one-
No.
No one fills a gap better than Gap Filler.
Yeah, it's true.
Uh,
There are enough mugs left that people can get some, and I'm sure there'll even be enough mugs left that people in the UK and the EU will be able to get them when I reopen the thing. And while I'm saying that stuff about that's going on in my life, I'm going to try to do an anime roundup probably in a week. Let's just assume it'll be in a week. Because it's Friday today. I don't know if I could even do one Sunday maybe. We'll find out.
Beach will have to figure it out, and hopefully you will find out more than 24 hours in advance.
That has always been my hope.
coming up in just over an hour, we got the Friday Night Paper Fight. A special New Year's Eve Friday night paper fight. Adam and Wheeler are going to be having a intimate tete-a-tete New Year's Winston draft.
Well,
should be a lot of fun.
I hope they've gotten stuff for each other.
And then nothing on Saturday, but on Sunday, Heather and Ian are back with Cool Tune.
So I'm going to point out we found a walkthrough, the only walkthrough in existence that says what we're supposed to do in the one part that we're stuck on. But I also found an article that, while talking about the game, suggests that part is just guessing. So we're going to find out if the walkthrough is correct or if the other person's right. And maybe that'll just be 2 hours of us doing the same thing for a long time, trying to figure it out. And maybe we get somewhere. It'll be fun.
Rhythm games are so weird.
Well, when they're in Japanese and you don't know what they want you to do.
That's fair.
Yes,
yeah, okay.
And Ian can't translate it, apparently.
All right.
And then later on Sunday, Wheeler is going to jump into the next game he's doing on Is This Your Card? Slay the Spire.
Which is currently on sale on the Switch eShop.
It's probably on sale in multiple places, to be honest.
I think everything's on sale on the Steam store right now because it's like winter sale thing.
It's a good game. I believe this is probably his first non-collectible card game style, like a deck builder.
Yeah.
I think.
Then on Monday, Kathleen's continuing on with Shin Megami Tensei. Can't Draw Horses Club is back on Monday. And then in the evening, we're going to be playing some Gang Beasts.
Oh, yeah.
Start the year off right by punching each other.
Got to work out some of that New Year's aggression.
If you don't punch, maybe you'll all get jittery. Who knows? Every time I watch that game, somebody gets stuck in a weird way and stretches out.
So, lots of stuff coming up. LoadYourRedMon.com/live is the place to go to see the full schedule. Thanks everybody for watching. Happy New Year. If we don't see you again before that.
If you acknowledge the New Year in your country.
Or maybe it's already happened. Maybe celebrate New Year at a different time. Whatever the case.
Think of this as an extra New Year that you could celebrate along with the New Year that you celebrate. Although, if you celebrated the New Year already, then it's still an extra.
And if not, then we'll see you for a Bengali Solar New Year. Subon Nabobasho.
Alrighty.
Okay.
Bye.